I mean, beyond the subjects he mentioned or the fields he mentioned, you can go play hockey right out of high school.
Right.
Jennifer Capriati turned pro in tennis at 13.
Right.
You know, baseball, you go straight out of high school. And if you're good enough, you can play in the majors. I mean, most guys go to the minors, but you can play in the majors. I used to feel like, you know, I've always felt like it's unfair to have the age requirement. Okay, if you're 18, we know you can go to war. Nobody cares about the kid that graduates high school and goes to work at McDonald's at 18 or 19.
But Chris, tell me why it's unfair. Why is it
unfair? Because you can do anything else at 18. You're an adult technically at 18, so you should be able to go ahead and play in the NBA. You know, now the argument has been for the level of play, for the good of the game. It would be better if these guys come in at 20 or stay longer. And I understand that, but I'm not sure how much these guys are getting out of 1 year of college. Right. I mean, when John Wall came out of Kentucky, he was a great player. He still had to learn how to run an offense, how to play at different paces and not 100 miles an hour all the time. You know, these guys, it's not like they're staying 3 years like they used to. Right. It's not even like they're really being taught the game the same way that Michael Jordan was taught it by Dean Smith at North Carolina. They're basically playing like they play in AAU in college, in my view. And so nowadays, I think, you know what? I don't know how much the quality of play would be different if they go to college for a year than if they go right out of high school. Some of the best players, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, Kevin Garnett, Tyson Chandler, not only the greatest players, but actually leaders, ambassadors of the league have come straight out of high school. I can point to many guys. Allen Iverson had his issues off the court, spent 2 years at Georgetown. Charles Barkley, throwing people through windows, spitting on fans. He spent 3 years at Auburn. You know, I mean, Lance Stevenson has had his problems in the NBA. He was at Cincinnati for a year. So you can't even give me the, socialization. Right. They mature more. There's no evidence for that.
Right, exactly.
So I used to understand, let's get them in college, but now I don't see any argument for it.
But Scoop, here's what I want to ask you. What right does the NBA have to protect the quality of the talent coming in their league? I know what you're saying, it still is happening with a variety of players, but are we still seeing that as frequently with the generation of players that are coming into the league now?
No, I don't think so, but I think the NBA is operating on a system that we don't want this to get out of control, and I think that's why they installed an age requirement, whereas not because to stop the Kobe Bryants or the Kevin Garnett's or Tracy McGrady's, but every other kid that was coming in because they were available to come into the league, and it was kind of getting out of control. My thing with the entire age restriction is, if you're going to have it in place, because you do have a board of directors with the NBA, you do have a CBA, you have a players association, so that's the one thing that when Coleman made his points, none of those entities that he talked about had an association or a collective bargaining agreement that they had to agree to. There's no, technology CBA that you have to go through. It's a free market, so that changed the dynamics.
You mentioned other sports too.
Right. But in what we just saw, that changed the dynamics, of his, the point he was trying to make about people just coming in at certain ages. I think the NBA changes that, and sports does change that. But my thing is, instead of having an age requirement, what I think would be fair is charge the owners for drafting you at a certain age. The same way you have a luxury tax for going over, whatever whatever your salary cap is, and you have to pay, because a salary cap is not a mandate. You can't go over it, you just have to pay for it. My thing is like, look, if a player has only played 1 year of college, or a player is under 20 years old and you want to draft him, fine, go ahead and draft him, but you have to pay a tax on that.
Well, why?
What would be the purpose of that?
Here's the thing, if you have to have a limit, and I don't think the NBA, I'm trying to think realistically, I don't think this age limit is going to go away. I think they're going to always have it in place in the NBA. As racially based as it may be, and people may think it is.
I mean, it's gone away. It's gone away, come back,
what I'm saying, in this climate, listen, I don't think Adam Silver's going to let this thing go away. I think he's going to try to keep it in place. I think the fight is whether they're going to up it to 20 or not. I don't think it's going to go away. Right, but I'm saying, so I don't think it's going to go away. So my thing is that if it's not going to go away, just change the dynamics and let the kids put one on there. But here's the deal. If you want a kid under the age of 20 years old, then you have to pay for it. Put the onus on the owners, because they're the ones that's drafting them.
But that doesn't solve the problem. What they're trying to do, the league is trying to do is protect the kid, protect the 18-year-old who's not ready, who comes out,
but then
doesn't make it, and then loses eligibility.
Then he won't get drafted.
He might get drafted.
But then you got to pay for it.
But why is that? I don't understand that at all.
Right. What does that have to do with the inhibition of being able to work and have the freedom to work at a certain age, like what you're talking about, right?
It gives you the freedom to have it. I say drop if they're not gonna drop it, but don't drop it. But let the owners make the decision on whether this cat is worth it or not. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Freddie.
Two things.
Yes.
One, I don't think there should be, well, three things. One, I don't think there should be an age limit. But I think the NBA, with all the resources that they have, they should make those resources available to any kid coming out of high school saying, look, this is where you could potentially be drafted. Give him all the information that he is going to need. Now, if he makes that decision, if someone has gotten in his ear and say, oh, go and do it anyway, then you know what, you got to deal with the consequences of repercussions that are going to come with it. I think if the NBA wants to not have an age limit, then make sure they have all the resources available. They do that for college players. They do that for anybody else. So you should do the same thing for anybody coming out of high school.
So, Freddie, let me ask you this. So you don't feel like having players come in at a younger age at all dilutes the quality
it doesn't.
of the product?
It doesn't dilute the quality, but let's realize this. Let's talk about economics from this situation. I think too many African American kids have been told this is all you're going to be good at.
Right.
This is all what your future is going to be. Whether somebody's told them that are supposed to be teaching them, coaching them, or people close to them. So if you hear that enough, you say, this is all I have to fall back on. If I don't do this, then what am I going to do? So they push themselves to say, I have to make the NBA, or that's going to be it. People going to hockey or going to baseball, no one is telling you if you don't play hockey, that's it, or outside of junior leagues. But in the United States, a lot of these kids come from affluent backgrounds. A lot of black kids do not come from affluent backgrounds. So people are looking at them saying, if you don't make it, you don't take us with you out of the ghetto or out of a tough situation, then there's a problem. That's a lot of pressure to put on anybody. I don't care if you're 38 years of age, but 17, 18 years of age. So from an socioeconomic standpoint, we can't just stop. We got to stop telling black kids, if you don't make it, that's it.
But what
we got to tell them, say, hey, you got to have something else.
The age at which you should come into the league, whether you're told that as an African American or whatever.
It has everything to do with it because now we're placing an adult situation on kids saying, all right, the age limit is no longer part of the NBA. Now you can go in the NBA and take us out of this situation. And kids are like, wait a minute, what if a kid wants to go to college? He shouldn't have to worry about that. He shouldn't have to worry about, okay, if I go into the NBA, this age limit is gone, that I got to worry about other people. He's got to worry about himself first and make himself better before anything else.
Can I say something about the elephant in the room also? And I get what y'all are saying about my thing, but the elephant in the room is that what impact is this going to have if they don't have an age limit on college basketball?
Oh, we know it's going to happen.
But do you all believe that? I believe part of the reason they have the age limit is because college basketball suffered more than they ever did at the time when they were coming in. And that's a big piece of this big puzzle as far as basketball is concerned. So
I think college basketball is more worried about it. Yeah.
But not as much if you don't.
Not as much as it.
At least you get a John Wall for a year. At least you get these players for a year.
I agree.
The NBA doesn't care about that, seriously.
I think you don't think they do.
I don't think so.
Because it is the NBA's decision.
That's right.
Yeah, I get, but I think I very much differ with you on it. I think the NBA is very concerned about having. I think so. I think Miles Brandon and David Stern at least had some relationship, and they no.
Well, what college does for the NBA is it's a free marketing. Like these players who are about to be in your league get free advertising.
Yeah.
Coming out of high school, most people won't know him. They would know a guy that played at Kentucky and went through March Madness and so on and so forth. Right. But this is the thing. What the NBA needs to do, and they are kind of going in that direction, strengthen the D-League. Because now if a kid gets drafted in the second round right out of high school, he comes in, you can send him down to the D-League and he can play and learn how to play and develop his skills and things like that. So as long as that kid that you draft and he doesn't pan out right away, he can go play in Sioux City or wherever your D-League team is, then, I mean, I think it's fine then because he's got something to fall back on. He's just not just out there with nowhere to go.
That's fair.
All right, well, one thing we know is there are a lot of interesting topics, obviously, to talk about in the NBA, and Scoop Jackson vehemently disagrees with you on that.
I vehemently disagree with him. That's okay.
That's okay.
Why are you instigating?
I'm not instigating. We're going to switch it over to the NFL right now. And Ndamukong Suh is arguably the best free agent on the market, and suitors are expected to be lining up for his services. But where should Suh play next for this season? And before we head into the weekend, there's plenty to talk about here at the desk. If you want to know what we'll be discussing in the upcoming blocks of the show, just shoot over to Instagram and check out our rundown.